Good morning. This is Morning Coffee. Today I want to talk about staying in something long past the expiration date, meaning there are times when you know you have been in something that is causing you severe pain because your threshold for pain becomes so great and because your illusion that you hope the person will change. You hope the situation will change. You hope that something will change, so that you can finally become a benefactor in something that you've been pouring all of yourself into. Not even recognizing that while you are doing this, you are taking on the shenanigans of being a victim and you are draining yourself as well as letting the people or another person drain you. It could be your job. It could be your career. It could be your romantic relationship. It could be a friendship. It could be a relationship that you have at church. It could be a relationship that you have in any community organization. Any person, place, or thing that you have attached yourself to in hopes that it will enhance, your spiritual being, or on the other hand, in hopes that it will give you that or all the items on your list that you wrote about that thing. You may have written down a whole list of what you wanted your mate to be like. And once you got in the relationship, you realized that they were nothing like any of the items on your list, but you stayed because you've been there for so long that the comfortability now has sunk in. And then your mind begins to think, I can't live without this person. So then you begin accepting things that you wouldn't normally accept. You begin to compromise your spiritual principles, your values, your morals. You find yourself deeper in darkness, trying to claw your way out. Yet on the inside, deep on the inside, you know that you're at a very desperate place in life. It's a very painful place to be, and unfortunately, pain is not enough to motivate you to leave. So you stay. And you know the Spirit has called you to leave. You may be a member of a church, and every time you go, you try to get in service. And when you try, you are viewed as an opportunist, not as a person that has something to give, not even as one of God's own creations, but now you have entered into an organization. And you think that because people have the face of God, that these people are really about the love of God. But then you start to recognize and realize that it's all a sham and that you've been bamboozled, and you stay in hopes that someone will just recognize you and that you don't have to be invisible, that your talents can also, be shared. And it hurts. But what do? You grow comfortable. So you stay in stuff and you become more bitter, more angry, more resentful. And all this does is just build a brick wall so that when it comes time for you to, simply leave and forgive, you leave only to return again because in your heart, there has been no real purpose or atonement. Speaking from a level of experience, I have to say that I did a job on myself when I began to not value the essence of who Rodney is. And I began to attach my self-worth to the individual or individuals. And I began to compare myself out, not compare myself in, but compare myself out, meaning that I would never measure up. And I would always be invisible. Yet I would give my time, I would give my money, I would give my experience, I would give whatever I could give in hopes that there would be some type of reciprocity, only to find out that what I would mainly get back in return was more of the same. And in romantic relationships, this becomes extremely painful, especially if you have children, because now there comes the element of you're not getting what you want at home, so you go outside to get it, and yet you still come back and bring those toxins into the home, and then you know that they're there, but you are thinking to yourself, well, as long as they're paying the bills, as long as they're doing that, then I can accept this behavior. And so what you're really saying to yourself is that you're not worthy of someone loving you for you, and someone, who can enhance what's inside of you, someone who can bring 100 like you can bring 100. Now you are choosing by default and by reason of insanity to live a destructive life, staying in something that because the Spirit has revealed it is time to leave. You may be even going through something to where you're fighting for something. You're fighting, and you just come up against every brick wall. And in your belief system, because the ego mind is strong too. So in your belief system, because you've got to prove a point, anytime you are at the center of a thing, anytime I am at the center of a thing, it is no longer about a spiritual principle. It is about my self-centeredness, meaning that I'll stay just so that I can get back at you. I'll stay and I'll treat you just like you treated me, not recognizing that all you're really doing is putting a down payment on more pain. And I don't even need to give you all of the synonyms for the type of pain that you will experience, because you already know, because you've chosen to stay in something beyond the expiration date. When milk has gone beyond that date on the box, it becomes clumpy and sour. And it's the same thing. Things become toxic, because you can't pour that into the body. It won't be good for the body anymore. But there is hope. There is hope. I'm here to share that with you. See, once your level of consciousness gets to a point where you are aware of this, and you no longer want more of the same, you begin to cry out in desperation, God, help me. Because of myself, I don't have the ability to leave, knowing that I need to leave for my own peace and my own sanity. And then something miraculous happens, and you begin to recognize that you are worthy, and that you are the Creator's creation. And instead of looking on the outside, blaming the person, the place, or the thing for your staying, you begin to own your own faults and flaws, and knowing that it is your poor decision making, it is your lack of understanding, it is your unwillingness to really listen. And quietly, very quietly, you let go. Because you know, no matter how much you fight, you know, no matter how much money you give, time you give, sex you give, good or bad, you know, no matter how much tithe you pay, how many times you got to dress up and look fierce and flawless, and how many, wonderful remarks you make, you know that deep on the inside, it's not bringing you growth or development, and it's not the will of God. You know this. So quietly, you surrender. And miraculously, the shift happens. And then you start making choices that put you in preparation to leave. And at this point, you begin to forgive yourself for staying so long and wasting all that valuable time, but recognizing that in this particular assignment, you may have needed to go through this so that you could grow up and so that you will give yourself an opportunity to begin to live again. And the next time you become involved in a person, place, or thing, you can now bring the essence of you. And because your level of consciousness has changed, you will know that the one thing that can lift you out of darkness is a loving and caring God who sends loving and caring people to help you out of that hellhole. This is Morning Coffee. Have a blessed day.